Okay, in this tutorial we're going to be looking at using the special triangles as well as reference angles to calculate exact values of trigonometric ratios. So you have to know a couple of things. First of all, you have to know what the ratios of all the trigonometric ratios are for 30 degrees, 45 degrees, and 60 degrees, and 0 and 90 degrees. And that's on page 240 of your textbook for the primary ratios. For the reciprocal ratios, you can just take the reciprocal of their primary ratio. So when you're doing something like secant here, you would look up and say to yourself, I got to find what the primary ratio reciprocal that goes with secant is. And if you're not sure, you can always check back to page 229. And you know that secant is a reciprocal of cosine. So all you would do is you would calculate cosine 1050 and take the reciprocal of it. So we're going to start here by doing this one first. So the first thing you should do is draw a little sketch. So we know that it's negative, so it's got to go down from the positive x-axis first. And it goes past negative 90, and it comes up a little bit here into the third quadrant, pardon me. And we know that this is 90, so there's 45 degrees here, but that's not our reference angle here with the y-axis. We want this angle here. And of course, that is also 45 degrees. That's what's left to get to negative 180 from negative 35. So there's our reference angle. So that we now know that we want to look up the sine of 45 degrees. The sine of 45 degrees, when we look it up, is root 2 over 2. So this is equal to root 2 over 2. But we know that, obviously, we also know that sine is y over r. And if we look at the y value here, if I just complete the triangle a little bit here, here's x, here's y, and here's r. R is always positive in this case. Y in this case is negative, it goes down, and x is also negative. So if we were to do that, it would be negative y over r, so this should be a negative value. So that's how you always have to be careful and analyze the sign of your trigonometric ratio based on what quadrant it is, and be careful with that. So here we are going on to our next one, and that's 1050. Okay, 360, that's 720 degrees. 360 again is 1080. Ooh, went a little too far, so I have to go back. So we know that it's going to be here. 1080 back to 1050. Well, we can analyze that. That's 30 degrees right here. There's our reference angle with the x-axis. Put in our triangle. So we know that this is negative y, positive x, and that r is always positive. So that'll help us. Now, we're doing secant, so we have to think to ourselves, well, we can't just look up secant on page 240 because it's not there. We have to recall that secant is a reciprocal ratio for a particular primary ratio. So you might have to go back and look at page 229. And if you did that, you would find out that cosine and secant are related to each other. So cosine, so the reciprocal of cosine is secant. So look up cosine of 30. Cosine of 30 is root 3 over 2. And then take the reciprocal of that, turn it upside down. So this would be equal to 2 over root 3. So we have to rationalize that now. Remember, I still haven't done the sine yet. I don't do the sine till the end. So this is 2 root 3 over 3. Now, we can also look on page 229 for secant being r over x. So we're going to look at r over x and analyze the sign of r and x. R is always positive, x in this case is positive. So this would be a positive 2 root 3 over 3. Okay, finally for our last one, let me just check my field of view here. We have tangent 495. So I'm just going to put that so we can see it a little better. And we will draw a picture here for that. Okay, so again, when you're drawing your pictures for angles, you want to recall that one wrap around the Cartesian plane is 360 degrees. So we've gone around 360 degrees and we're still not to 495. So we got to go up another 90. 360 and 90 would give you 450 degrees. So 450 to there. So we know that it's going to end up in here somewhere. 450. So this is going to be 45 degrees here. So that makes this reference angle here 45 degrees in the second quadrant. So I draw this out, and I want to again be careful because I'm going to be looking at sine analysis. So we have a negative x, a positive y, and a positive r as always. And tangent, if we're analyzing tangent from page 229, we know that tangent is y over x. So we can think of it as y over x. So that's going to tell us that we're going to end up with a negative value. So we know it's negative. And we can also tell ourselves that if we look up tangent 45 on our other page, 240 I believe it was, we have to look up the special relationship there, and that would be 1. So therefore we have an answer of negative 1 for our value. So a lot of this type of these types of questions deal with drawing a good picture, doing a bit of a sign analysis, and using special triangles or a table of the trigonometric ratios in a special triangle. In our next section, we'll be looking specifically at word problems for the final part of Chapter 7.